Here is scene 1 expanded to approximately 1,000 words without headings, fully rewritten and enriched. Dash dash dash. Snow drifted steadily from the night sky, thick flakes spinning in slow spirals as if the world itself were trying to soften the edges of a hard year. The little wooden house on the outskirts of Pine Ridge sat half buried in white, its porch sagging under the weight of winter. Inside, Emily Carter pulled the last thin blanket tighter around her 2 children, trying to hide her shiver as the cold crept into her bones. The heater had died 2 days ago, and the electricity flickered so often she wasn't sure if it was worth keeping the lights on. Lily, her 6-year-old daughter, huddled against her side with wide, hopeful eyes that didn't understand the way life could break you. "Mom, Santa's still coming, right?" Emily smiled, but it trembled at the edges. "Of course he is, sweetheart. He always finds a way." The little girl nodded, reassured for the moment, and curled into her older brother. Noah, 10 years old and far too serious for his age, wrapped an arm around Lily with protective stiffness. Losing their father 7 months earlier had carved something heavy and silent into him, something Emily recognized because she carried a matching weight inside her. "We'll be warm soon," Emily said softly, even though she knew the firewood was nearly gone. Noah met her eyes. He didn't believe her, but he didn't challenge her either. He wanted to be strong for her, always trying, always watching. Outside, the wind moaned through the thin walls, and the windows rattled with each gust. Emily pushed herself up reluctantly, her muscles aching from days of strain and nights of restless, freezing sleep. "I'm going to check for more wood," she said. "You two stay under the blankets. Can I have cocoa after?" Lily asked, her voice tiny. Emily forced a reassuring smile. "If the water warms up enough, honey, yes." She stepped toward the kitchen sink, letting the tap run for a moment. A thin stream of icy water sputtered out before dying completely. The pipes were freezing. Panic flickered across her mind like a spark. She steadied herself with a hand on the counter, breathing slowly. She couldn't break, not now. She grabbed her coat from the hook by the door, slipping it on with numb fingers. It was old and too thin for this kind of cold, but it was all she had. When she stepped outside, the night air hit her like a slap, sharp and unforgiving. The snow-covered ground creaked under her boots as she trudged toward the small plastic container that held what remained of their firewood. Kneeling, she brushed the snow off the lid and lifted it with a brittle hope. Empty. Her heart lurched into her throat. She bit her lip hard enough to taste metal, willing herself not to cry. The kids couldn't see her break. Not tonight, not on Christmas Eve. She lowered her head, her breath coming fast and shallow as she knelt in the snow. For a moment, she let the cold seep into her bones, numbing everything she didn't want to feel. She whispered into the dark, "Please, just give me something. Anything." Her voice vanished into the wind. She stood with effort, hugging herself tightly. She turned back toward the house, the yellow porch light flickering weakly through the snowfall. Lily's small face appeared briefly at the window, her breath fogging the glass. Emily raised a hand to reassure her. And froze. Footsteps crunched in the snow. Slow, heavy, approaching. Her pulse jumped. Out here, miles from town, no one ever came unannounced, especially not at night. She backed up a step, scanning the dark shape emerging from the road. The figure was tall, broad-shouldered, moving with a steady confidence that sent her instincts into overdrive. "Who's there?" she called, though her voice barely carried. The figure stepped closer until the porch light caught his face. Emily's breath hitched. Jack Stanton, her late husband's closest friend, Daniel's best friend since boot camp. The ex-Navy SEAL who had vanished after the funeral, drowning somewhere in the wilderness with grief and ghosts of battles no one could see. He looked different now, leaner. Shadows sat under his eyes. A beard darkened his jaw. Snow clung to his black tactical jacket, and the wind tugged at the edges of his knit cap. "Emily," he said quietly, his voice deeper, rougher than she remembered. She swallowed hard. I didn't know you were back. Got in a few hours ago," he said, stopping at the bottom of the steps. "I went by your place in town earlier. Doesn't look like anyone's been there for a while. We moved out," she admitted, hugging herself. "Couldn't afford it after everything." Jack nodded slowly, as if piecing together the parts she didn't say. His gaze dropped to the empty wood container. Then to her hands, red from the cold. Then to the dim, shivering light inside the house. "Your heat's out," he said. It wasn't a question. Emily opened her mouth to deflect, but her voice failed. She could only nod. Jack's jaw clenched. His eyes shifted past her and into the house, and he saw the shapes of Noah and Lily huddled together under blankets. Something in his expression cracked, something hard and stormy. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked quietly. "You were gone," she whispered. "And I didn't want to drag you into my problems. Everyone has their own battles to fight." The wind gusted, whipping her hair across her face. Jack reached up slowly, carefully, and moved a strand away so he could see her eyes. His touch was gentle, almost hesitant, as if he feared she might shatter. "You're not a problem," he said. "Your family." Emily felt a lump rise in her throat. She didn't know what to say, didn't know how to let someone help her when she'd spent months surviving alone. The creak of the front door interrupted them. Lily peeked out, her small frame wrapped in a blanket, her eyes huge in the cold. "Mommy, is everything okay?" Emily turned to comfort her, but Jack moved first. He knelt, snow crunching beneath him, so he could look Lily in the eye. "Hey, sweetheart," he said softly. "It's me, Uncle Jack." Lily blinked, then a tiny smile bloomed on her face. "I remember you. You brought Daddy that silly hat once." Jack's throat tightened. "Yeah, I did. Are you here to help Santa?" she asked, shivering. Jack swallowed hard, stood, and faced Emily. His expression became firm, decided, determined in a way that reminded her of what Daniel used to say, "When Jack makes up his mind, there's no moving him." "Emily," he said, "get the kids dressed. Pack a small bag." She frowned, thrown. "Why, Jack, what are you doing?" He didn't blink. "Come with me," he said. "You and the kids. Now." "What, Jack? No, we can't, I don't want to trouble." "You're not staying out here another minute," he said, voice edged with a quiet steel that sent warmth through her chest. "Not on Christmas. Not like this." Snow fell thicker around them, gathering at his boots, clinging to her hair as she stared up at him. For the first time in months, Emily didn't feel alone. Jack wasn't asking. He was rescuing them, just as he had been trained to do all his life. If you'd like, I can now expand scene 2, write image prompts, or create a continued third scene. Here is scene 2 expanded to approximately 1,000 words without headings, fully rewritten and enriched, continuing seamlessly from the expanded scene 1. Jack helped Emily gather what little they had. 2 sets of children's pajamas, a pair of worn sweaters, a handful of toiletries, and No's well-loved book with the bent spine. Emily paused to grab the framed photo of Daniel from the mantel, wiping off the thin layer of dust with her sleeve before tucking it gently into the bag. Her chest tightened, but she pushed the feeling down and focused on moving quickly. The cold had grown sharper, as if it sensed they were leaving and wanted to claw at them one last time. Jack stood by the door, scanning the room with quick, assessing eyes, a habit he couldn't turn off. When Emily came out with the children bundled in coats, he nodded toward the storm outside. "Stay close," he said. "The wind's picking up." He scooped Lily into his arms before Emily could protest. The little girl instinctively curled against him, burying her face in his jacket. Emily helped Noah zip his coat up to his chin and then held his hand as they stepped into the swirling snow. The flakes were heavier now, thick curtains of white that swallowed the night. Jack led the way, his steps sure even when the wind pushed against them. His truck, a sturdy black vehicle suited for rough terrain, waited on the roadside with its headlights glowing like 2 watchful eyes in the storm. He opened the back door, lifting Lily in first and settling her into the seat. Noah climbed in next, and Jack tucked a thick thermal blanket around both children, adjusting it carefully to ensure no cold air could slip through. Emily stood by the passenger door, breath clouding in front of her, watching the way Jack moved, quiet, certain, protective. When he opened her door, he brushed away the snow that had accumulated on the seat. "Careful," he murmured, offering his hand. She hesitated only a second before taking it, her cold fingers fitting into his warm, calloused grip. He helped her climb in, then closed the door with a soft thud. Inside, the truck smelled faintly of pine and leather. As Jack started the engine, the vents roared to life, blowing warm air across Emily's face. She closed her eyes, letting the heat melt the numbness in her skin. When she opened them again, Jack was watching her from the driver's seat, concern flickering behind his steady gaze. "You're freezing," he said. "I'm fine," she replied automatically, though she knew it wasn't convincing. Jack didn't argue. He simply shifted the vents so the warm air angled toward her and the children. They drove slowly through the forest roads, the headlights slicing through the storm. Pines towered on either side, their branches heavy with snow. The truck rumbled steadily, a sturdy heartbeat in the quiet night. In the back seat, Lily had already fallen asleep, her small hand clutching the edge of the blanket. Noah fought to stay awake, watching Jack's silhouette with a kind of reverent awe, as though he'd just witnessed a superhero walk out of the storm. After several minutes of silence, Emily finally asked, "Jack, where are we going?" "My place," he said simply. She shifted, uneasy. "Jack, that's too much. We'll find a hotel in the morning or—" "No," he said, sharp but calm. "It's Christmas Eve, Emily. Hotels are either booked or miles away. I'm not leaving you and the kids alone. Not tonight." Emily shook her head. "I don't want to be a burden." "You're not," Jack said firmly. "And you can't keep thinking you are." His voice startled her, not because it was harsh, but because it carried something raw. Something that felt like the ghost of a wound he'd been carrying far longer than she had known. The rest of the drive was quiet, broken only by the hum of the engine and the soft sound of snow hitting the windshield. When they turned onto a gravel path leading deeper into the woods, Emily sat up straighter. A warm glow appeared through the trees, a house of logs and soft golden lights. Its windows shining like beacons of safety. Smoke curled from the stone chimney, rising into the snowy sky. Jack parked in front of the porch and turned off the engine. "Let's get them inside," he said softly. He carried Lily again, careful not to wake her, while Emily guided Noah through the knee-deep snow. The cabin door opened with a soft creak, spilling warm air into the frigid night. Inside, the living room was spacious and inviting, wooden beams across the ceiling, a large stone fireplace crackling with flames, a thick rug by the hearth. Emily stopped in her tracks when she saw the Christmas tree standing in the corner. It reached nearly to the ceiling, its branches full and green, adorned with ornaments of deep reds, winter golds, and tiny wooden carvings that looked handmade. But the lights were off, as though waiting. "You decorated," she whispered. Jack set Lily down gently on the couch. "It's a habit from growing up. Didn't expect anyone to see it." "It's beautiful," she said, her voice cracking. Noah stepped toward the tree, his hand hovering near an ornament shaped like a small wooden boat. "Did you make this?" Jack nodded. "Your dad and I carved ones like that when we were kids." "That one's from last Christmas." Emily's breath caught. For a moment, Daniel felt close, not as a ghost, but as a soft warmth in the room. Jack watched her carefully. "I'm going to make some cocoa for the kids. And you don't have to." "I want to." He disappeared into the kitchen, moving with quiet efficiency. Emily tucked blankets around the children, brushing their hair back tenderly. The firelight painted their cheeks with warm color, and for the first time in weeks, they looked peaceful. When Jack returned, he held 3 steaming mugs. He put one beside Lily, another near Noah's hand, and handed the last to Emily. She cupped it between her palms. The smell alone brought tears to her eyes. "This is Daniel's recipe." Jack nodded once. "He taught it to me." Emily's throat tightened. "He would have been glad you're here." "I should have been here sooner," Jack said, staring into the fire. "I thought leaving would help me clear my head. But all it did was make me realize what I walked away from." She stepped closer. "Jack, you didn't walk away from us." His voice dropped, barely audible. "I walked away from everything." The room fell quiet. The fire crackled softly. Snow tapped against the window like gentle fingers. Emily looked at him, really looked. The strong shoulders carrying invisible weight. The loyal heart bruised by guilt. And beneath it all, the same man Daniel had trusted more than anyone. "Jack," she whispered, "you saved us tonight." He met her eyes, something warm and guarded flickering behind his own. "I'll always show up when you need me," he said. "I promise." Emily felt something shift in the room. In her chest. In the future she had thought would only ever be cold and lonely. The storm outside howled on. But inside Jack's cabin, there was warmth. There was safety. And for the first time since losing Daniel, Emily felt that maybe, just maybe, a new kind of Christmas miracle had begun. If you want, I can now write image prompts for both scenes, continue into a scene 3, or expand the emotional arc between Jack and Emily.